Have you ever been in a situation where someone asked a question so out there, so completely bizarre, that you couldn't decide whether to laugh, cry, or just walk away? Well, today, we're diving headfirst into the hilariously unique world of personality types to answer one burning question. How does each MBTI type react to dumb questions? Get ready, because we're taking a playful yet spot-on look at how all 16 types, yes, all of them, from the confident ENTJ to the dreamy INFP, respond when faced with the kinds of questions that make everyone else in the room wince. By the end of this, you'll definitely recognize yourself or someone you know, and maybe even understand why certain reactions are so, well, predictable. So grab a seat, relax, and let's get started. Segment 1. Extroverted judges. ENTJ, ENFJ, ESFJ, ESTJ, ENTJ, the commanding strategist. Let's start strong with the ENTJ, the leaders of the MBTI world. If you ask an ENTJ a dumb question, you might regret it instantly. First, there's the look, a piercing stare that practically screams, "Are you really wasting my time with this?" ENTJs are all about efficiency and results, so when you drop a clunker of a question on them, they don't take it lightly. Here's the thing though, they'll probably answer you, but don't expect warmth or sugarcoating. ENTJs will cut straight to the point, giving you the most logical, no-nonsense answer possible. But if the question is so ridiculous it derails their focus, brace yourself for a follow-up like, "Next time, come prepared." ENTJs thrive on challenges and intelligent discussions, so when faced with something they deem trivial, their tolerance evaporates. That being said, if you're someone they respect, they might soften the blow, slightly. ENTJs believe in helping others level up, but only if you show you're willing to put in the effort. If not, well, you've just made it onto their mental list of people who need to think before speaking. ENFJ, the charismatic coach. Now, ENFJs are the type that might actually make you feel good about asking a dumb question, at least on the surface. These charismatic and empathetic individuals excel at reading people, so they'll likely sense your embarrassment and try to smooth things over. Picture this. You ask a question that's, let's say, less than brilliant. The ENFJ's initial reaction might be a momentary pause, followed by a smile so warm and encouraging that you almost forget how silly your question was. They'll answer thoughtfully, often going above and beyond to explain things in a way that makes you feel included rather than judged. But here's the catch. While they're being kind outwardly, their inner monologue might sound something like, "Bless their heart, how can I turn this into a teaching moment?" ENFJs are natural mentors, so even your dumbest question becomes an opportunity for them to guide you toward greater understanding. And let's be honest, they're probably texting their best friend later about the wild thing someone asked today, but they'll keep it anonymous because at their core, ENFJs just want to help you grow. ESFJ, the nurturing caregiver. ESFJs are the sweet, caring types who value harmony and connection. So, when you ask an ESFJ a dumb question, they'll do their absolute best to respond graciously. You'll get an answer that's patient, detailed, and maybe even delivered with a concerned tilt of the head. But don't be fooled. Underneath that kind exterior, ESFJs are silently screaming, "Why didn't you just Google this?" They're not ones to outright embarrass you though, because they hate making others feel uncomfortable. Instead, they'll answer your question with a mix of kindness and mild exasperation, sometimes sprinkling in a little life advice for good measure. Here's where it gets funny. After the conversation ends, they'll probably vent to a close friend or family member about how much they couldn't believe the question. ESFJs thrive on being helpful, but they also have their limits. Dumb questions test their patience, but they'd never let you see that, at least not directly. ESTJ, the no-nonsense leader. ESTJs are the epitome of no-nonsense efficiency, so when you ask them a dumb question, their response is about as subtle as a brick wall. They'll look you straight in the eye and say, "Why would you ask that?" Or, if they're feeling particularly charitable, "Let me explain this in a way you'll understand." To an ESTJ, every interaction is an opportunity to get something done, so your question better have a purpose, or at least some semblance of logic. Dumb questions? They're the kind of thing that makes an ESTJ lose faith in humanity for a moment. But to their credit, they'll often still provide a straightforward, practical answer. Why? Because deep down, ESTJs believe in setting people straight, even if it's a little painful in the process. If you're close to an ESTJ, you've probably heard their post-conversation rants about the ridiculous question someone asked today. They may come off as harsh, but their intentions are rarely malicious. They just want people to think things through and save everyone a little time and energy. Segment 2. Extroverted perceivers. ENTP, ENFP, ESFP, ESTP. ENTP, the witty debater. Now, the ENTP. Oh, you better brace yourself because dumb questions are practically a gift to this witty and mischievous personality type. ENTPs thrive on mental stimulation, and a poorly thought out question, that's just fuel for their creative fire. When you ask an ENTP a dumb question, their immediate reaction is to turn it into a game. They'll probably smirk, cock their head to the side, and respond with something so over the top and sarcastic that you'll spend the next 5 minutes wondering if they're serious. For example, ask an ENTP, "Why is the sky blue?" and they'll give you an answer involving aliens, quantum physics, and the whims of a bored deity. They love to push boundaries even in conversation. But here's the twist. Once they've had their fun, ENTPs might actually circle back and give you a real answer. They enjoy exploring ideas, even silly ones, so your question becomes a jumping off point for a lively discussion. Just don't expect them to take it seriously right away. Where's the fun in that? ENFP, the enthusiastic dreamer. ENFPs are sunshine in human form until you ask a question that catches them off guard. Their first reaction is likely to laugh, not out of cruelty, but because they genuinely can't believe what they just heard. ENFPs have vivid imaginations, so a dumb question immediately sends them spiraling into all the wild possibilities of why you might have asked it. For example, ask an ENFP, "Do fish get thirsty?" and they'll probably respond with, "Whoa, I've never thought about that before," followed by a 5-minute tangent about the secret lives of fish. ENFPs see every interaction as an opportunity for connection, so they'll engage with your question, no matter how absurd it is. But here's the catch. If your question really stumps them, they might start asking you questions instead. "Wait, what made you think of that?" Or, "Are you serious?" Or, "Are you just messing with me?" For ENFPs, dumb questions aren't frustrating. They're fascinating. Just be prepared for their response to go in a million different directions. ESFP, the life of the party. ESFPs are the ultimate performers, so a dumb question is just another opportunity for them to shine. Their reaction is all about theatrics, big facial expressions, exaggerated gestures, and maybe even a dramatic gasp. They'll turn your question into a full-blown comedy routine, complete with reenactments and a punchline. For instance, if you ask an ESFP something like, "Do dogs know their dogs?" they might respond with, "Of course they do. My dog probably thinks he's a king," while pretending to crown themselves. ESFPs live for the moment, and your question is just another moment to make memorable. That said, ESFPs are rarely mean-spirited. Their humour is light-hearted, and their goal is to make everyone laugh, including you. They might even follow up with a genuine answer, but only after they've gotten their jokes in. Dumb questions don't frustrate ESFPs. They entertain them, and honestly, you'll probably walk away laughing too. ESTP, the bold opportunist. ESTPs are all about living in the moment, and dumb questions are no exception. Their first reaction? A sly grin. ESTPs love to stir the pot, so they'll likely respond with an equally ridiculous counter-question or a sarcastic remark that leaves you second-guessing everything. For example, ask an ESTP, "Can you cry underwater?" and they might say, "Only if you're a mermaid," without missing a beat. They're quick-witted and love to keep things interesting, so your question becomes an opportunity for them to flex their humour and charm. But here's the thing about ESTPs. If the question is practical and they can fix it, they'll jump into action. Dumb or not, they're problem solvers at heart. So if there's a way to turn your question into a hands-on challenge, they're all in. Just don't expect them to take it too seriously. They're here for a good time, not a long lecture. Segment 3. Introverted judges. INTJ, INFJ, ISFJ, ISTJ, INTJ. The mastermind. INTJs are strategic thinkers who thrive on logic and efficiency. So when you ask an INTJ a dumb question, their reaction is a mix of silent judgment and subtle disdain. First, there's the pause. INTJs are calculating whether it's worth their time to answer, or if ignoring you entirely would be more efficient. If they do respond, it's with a hyper-logical answer that leaves no room for interpretation. For example, ask an INTJ, why don't airplanes have parachutes for everyone? And they'll give you a detailed explanation of aerodynamics, cost efficiency, and survival statistics. You'll leave the conversation smarter, but possibly a little embarrassed. What's fascinating about INTJs is that they don't mean to come off as harsh. It's just their natural response to anything they perceive as illogical. Dumb questions disrupt their carefully planned mental landscape, so their reaction is less about you and more about their need for order. Consider it tough love, INTJ style. INFJ, the compassionate visionary. INFJs are empathetic and deeply introspective, so they won't outwardly react to your dumb question. Instead, they'll answer with kindness and thoughtfulness, as if your question is a window into your soul. But don't be fooled. Behind their calm exterior, they're probably analysing the deeper reasons behind your inquiry. For example, if you ask an INFJ, do plants feel pain? They might say something like, that's an interesting perspective, what makes you think that? They'll use the opportunity to engage in a meaningful conversation even if the question itself is a little out there. INFJs are less concerned with the logic of your question and more focused on the emotional or philosophical implications behind it. To them, no interaction is meaningless, so even your most bizarre question becomes an opportunity for connection and understanding. You'll walk away feeling heard and maybe even a little wiser. ISFJ, the loyal protector. ISFJs are known for their kindness and dedication to helping others. So when you ask them a dumb question, their reaction will be as gentle as possible. They'll probably smile, give you their full attention and respond in a way that's thoughtful and supportive. You could ask them something as silly as, do cats have feelings? And they'll reply with genuine care saying, of course they do, let me tell you about my cat's behaviour. But here's the secret. ISFJs have an inner world where they process everything, and your question might leave them a bit baffled. While they won't show it outwardly, they're likely thinking, how can I help this person avoid asking something like this again? They don't mean it judgmentally, it's more that they want to protect you from potential embarrassment. ISFJs are naturally nurturing, so they see your question as an opportunity to be helpful. Even if they're silently wondering what on earth prompted it, they'll never let it show. With an ISFJ, you're in safe hands. They'll always treat you with respect, no matter how bizarre your question might seem. ISTJ, the practical planner. ISTJs are the ultimate realists, so when faced with a dumb question, their reaction is all about practicality. They'll give you a no-frills answer that's direct and efficient, sometimes so much so that it stings a little. Ask an ISTJ something like, can you cook a frozen pizza without turning on the oven? And they'll respond with, no, why would you even think that's possible? ISTJs respect rules, systems and logic, so a question that defies common sense really throws them off. But here's the thing, they're not trying to be mean. ISTJs simply value accuracy, and they see it as their duty to set the record straight. They'll provide a clear, correct answer, but don't expect a lot of patience if you keep pushing the subject. What's interesting is that ISTJs are also quietly observant. So if they know you well, they might tailor their response to match your level of understanding. Still, they'll be thinking, this could have been avoided with a little research. With ISTJs, it's all about efficiency. They'd rather teach you to fish than answer every little question. Segment 4. Introverted perceivers. INTP, INFP, ISFP, ISTP, INTP, the curious thinker. INTPs are the philosophers of the MBTI world, so when you ask them a dumb question, their reaction is complicated. First, they'll pause. Not because they're offended, but because they're genuinely trying to figure out if there's a deeper layer to your question. For example, if you ask an INTP, "Why don't we just build houses on clouds?" they might respond with, "That's an interesting idea. Let's think about the physics behind that." INTPs love to analyse everything, so even your most ridiculous question becomes a mental puzzle for them to solve. They might end up giving you a 10-minute explanation involving science, philosophy, and hypothetical scenarios. To them, no question is truly dumb. It's just a chance to explore new ideas. That said, if your question is truly nonsensical and lacks any logic, an INTP might eventually lose interest and move on. But in most cases, they'll engage with it as long as it sparks their curiosity. For INTPs, every question is a potential rabbit hole, and they're more than happy to dive in. INFP, the idealistic dreamer. INFPs are kind souls who see the world through a lens of empathy and imagination. So when you ask them a dumb question, their initial reaction is to try and find the deeper meaning behind it. You could ask something completely off the wall like, "Do you think trees talk to each other?" And they'll respond with, "I love that idea. What makes you think that?" INFPs want to believe that every question has value, even if it's not immediately obvious. They'll approach your inquiry with curiosity and an open heart, often turning it into a philosophical discussion. However, if they sense you're just being flippant or trying to mock them, they might quietly withdraw. INFPs dislike shallow interactions, so they need to feel like your question comes from a genuine place. What's unique about INFPs is their ability to make you feel heard and understood, even when your question is, well, questionable. They'll leave you feeling like your curiosity matters and maybe even inspire you to look at the world a little differently. ISFP, the artistic soul. ISFPs are all about living in the moment and going with the flow, so when you ask them a dumb question, their reaction is usually pretty relaxed. They'll likely smile, shrug, and give you a simple off-the-cuff answer. For example, if you ask, "Can you grow a watermelon in a cup?" they might reply, "I don't think so, but that'd be cool to try." ISFPs aren't the type to overanalyze or judge. They're more focused on how the question makes them feel in the moment. If it's playful, they'll roll with it. If it's frustrating or condescending, they'll quietly disengage. ISFPs value authenticity, so as long as your question feels genuine, they'll respond with kindness and creativity. What's great about ISFPs is their ability to see beauty and possibility in almost anything. Even your most absurd question might spark their imagination, leading to a fun and unexpected conversation. With an ISFP, dumb questions are just another part of life's colourful tapestry. ISTP, the cool problem solver. ISTPs are the ultimate hands-on thinkers, so their reaction to a dumb question depends entirely on whether it involves something practical. If you ask an ISTP something like, "Can you fix a car with duct tape?" they'll probably say, "Not for long, but I could make it work." ISTPs love solving problems, so if your question hints at a challenge, they'll dive right in. However, if your question is purely theoretical or overly abstract, their response might be less enthusiastic. Ask an ISTP, "What's the meaning of life?" and they'll likely say, "Does it matter?" ISTPs don't have much patience for questions that can't be answered with action or logic. That said, they're not overly critical, they just prefer to keep things straightforward. If your question is practical, they'll engage. If it's not, they'll politely steer the conversation elsewhere. For ISTPs, it's all about efficiency and utility. Dumb questions are only worth their time if they lead to something tangible. And there you have it. 16 hilariously accurate ways the MBTI types react to dumb questions. Which type resonated with you the most? Or maybe you recognised a friend, sibling, or co-worker? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories. If you enjoyed this, just don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more MBTI deep dives. This is MBTI Spectrum, your go-to channel for unlocking the secrets of personality and understanding the people around you. See you next time.